Hey everyone, you are listening to the Self-Awareness Journey podcast. This little banter is about a car ride long and features your hosts, JJ Parker and Melissa Albers. JJ owns a tech company and Melissa has been a coach working with influencers for the last 18 years.
Well, Melissa, it's New Year's 2021.
Woohoo!
Finally, 2020 is over.
2020 is done, baby.
Rest in peace, you're gone.
Rest in peace. Not that you were peaceful at all once
let's
during
never think of that year again. Just move on. Well, I like this time of year because, New Year's always gives us time to reflect and then what I like more than the reflecting part is just thinking about what can happen in the next year.
Yeah.
Right? The planning and the daydreaming, the thinking, all of the feeling. Stuff about what can be 2021. What's going to happen in 2021 in this next year.
I am so excited for this year. I'm so full of hope and I'm so full of enthusiasm about what can be. Because I think that, 2020, we've talked about that. It's not easy. But you know what? I've always said in coaching conversations and just in my own life, it's actually, it's really hard to know great happiness if you have not experienced great sadness. You can't experience great highs unless you have also experienced equal and opposite lows. And if that's true, 2021 can be so amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. There's a really famous book about the tale of the allegory. What is that book?
Oh, I have no idea. Normally I do know when you say books, but that one I don't.
A very obscure book. Anyway, the whole idea is that, you can't know good unless you know bad.
Yeah,
you can't know light unless you've seen dark.
Yes,
if you just live your whole life in dark, you'd have no idea what light is.
And the reverse is also true.
So
if you try and be overly positive and optimistic and just live in light with no other awareness that anything else exists, you have nothing to compare it to, and it isn't light.
So the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows, the lights and darks, it's all part of it.
It is.
So at work around this time, I publish what we call our vivid vision.
Yep.
Which is how I see our company this coming year and a few years in the future. So it's like a strategic planning thing.
Yeah, it is. Actually,
it's a little more. It's not quite like a plan. It's like
more
how
creative.
I see the future and how I want our company to be in the future.
Yes, and if I could just put a little context behind this for the listeners, this is the vivid vision that was an idea created by that Cameron Herod, the COO of Got Junk. And he created this really cool methodology, and then you've taken it and plus one'd it and made it super awesome and more personalized. So that just gives a little context in case anyone's interested in checking this out further.
Well, that's an overstatement. Mostly what happened is I wrote some stuff, and then our wonderful graphic designer, Amber, made it so beautiful that it just tricks everyone into thinking it's brilliant.
Amazing.
That's my secret. That's my secret to awesomeness is I just have her make everything look really beautiful. In any case, here's the thing about the vivid vision is I've written it for many years in a row. The first few years I wrote it just in a Word doc, never showed anybody.
Yeah.
Right? And what happened is almost all of it came true. I thought I was writing crazy things, right?
Yeah.
I thought there's no way we can transform this company and pivot this company in these ways. There's no way we're going to hit these financial goals, right? But I sat down and I visioned it and I and I wrote it down.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And a year later, I went back, and the first time I wrote it, I actually forgot that I wrote it because this, because like of my work amnesia problem.
That's real.
And I forgot, and I was like going through stuff. I was like, "Oh yeah, I wrote that document." I opened it up. I was like, "Holy cow, so much of this came true."
Yeah.
And then I wrote it again, and almost all of it came true.
Yep.
And now, then I started like, well, maybe I should share this. So I shared it with the leadership team the next year, and again,
it's shocking.
it happened. And this last year was the year that we published it as a printed book and gave it to everybody in the company. And that's obviously what we're going to keep doing going forward in the future.
'Tis the season again now.
Yep. But what's amazing about that, what I think is amazing about that is when you put in those thoughts, right? And you put in that work to think about how you want, your business or your life to be in the future, and you write it like it's happened, right? And you start really believing and feeling that you're already in that state, how those things start to become true for your reality.
Yep. Yes. And yours is a written model, and a lot of people have heard also of vision boards. It's the same context. Today's topic, by the way, which we never talked about, was what we're going to manifest in 2021. Yeah, we did. We just got all excited to talk about this. But, this is really an interesting conversation about the different ways that we do manifest our future. And I just love this idea of sitting down with yourself as you've described and writing yourself sort of a document, I don't know what else to call it, where you just envision what you see and you write it as though it's already happened. That's the key piece. And there's some really important reasons for that. But I love that, how this vivid vision has become a playbook for Tightrope.
Yeah. And for me, I started writing it more for myself, right? And I thought, okay, if I can make my future reality look like this, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But as I started sharing it with everybody in the company, what seemed to have happened is like, instead of just me having that, we all have that same shared vision, and the power of like the entire team getting behind that is really amazing.
It really is.
2021 or 2020, even though it was bad in a lot of ways, we met all of the things in the book. And it was funny, just a couple weeks ago, we had a big financial goal that we wanted to hit, and we hit it in November.
Yeah.
And it was like, and it was in a funny way. It was in a funny way because we weren't really even paying attention to that goal. But John, who's on my leadership team, just posted in our Slack chat app, "Hey, did you guys notice we hit the goal?" And we're like, "Whoa, we hit it!" Like, so it was really fun. It's really fun. So
let me ask you something. I have a couple questions for you. So why didn't you share it the first couple of years? What was your real reason?
I think the reason I didn't share it the first couple of years is because I was probably a little embarrassed maybe by it. Like, who am I to declare that all of this stuff is going to be true? Or I wasn't confident that this was going to work. Right. And I just didn't want it to be like, oh yeah, JJ said we were going to be whatever $1 million company, and we were going to have products that look like this and that. And we didn't. So I didn't want to be wrong. I think that was probably part of it. And honestly, I probably didn't really believe in it. That's interesting, right? I don't think I believed that worked, that would work.
Right. So,
and as soon as I got a couple of years of it working, then I was all in.
Isn't that interesting though? Like that's why I was asking you, because I think we all have a tendency to do that. It's like we deeply desire something and we're so afraid to even admit to ourselves how much we desire it.
Mm-hmm.
We just want so much to have something, and then we make ourselves wrong for it, or we think we're not worthy of it, or we think that we're making ourselves crazy by these thinking patterns. Like but the mind games that happen after we have a deep desire about something is really important to notice.
Yeah. You said something that's super critical that we need to talk about, because if my vivid vision stuff, my thinking around it, and my feeling around it isn't one of being in the state of I want to have a $10 million company. I'm just not in the state of wanting. It is in the state of I have a $10 million company.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because when we're talking about attracting things and the future vision, you have to be careful that that future vision and that feeling you have isn't one of desire. It is one of you already have it.
Of the having of it. So are you referring to the writing of your vivid vision? Are you referring
the way it's
to
written, the way I feel when I read it.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
It's written in a way that it cultivates a feeling of already having.
Yes, right. Yes. And so this is a really important part. And this is one of the things that we have maybe talked about in the past, but I actually don't think we've talked a lot about. No. And that is when we are creating our own realities, which we do all the time, every day. We're always creating our own environments and our own realities. When we're now talking about like future set, like what are we going to manifest for ourselves next? It isn't just the words are very important, because like I always say, it's emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical bodies must be in alignment to be in our centered space. And in order to create holistically, it needs to be with that in mind. So yes, all those words have to be in place. Like they have to be intentionally, and they have to be in the present, written in the present, even though you're manifesting it for your future.
Yep.
And then this is where so many New Year's resolutions and so many personal development products miss or don't complete for us. And that is because we stop there. So many people stop there like, oh, here's our words. This is good enough. Like I've got the words and I'm just going to read this words. But the feeling has to be in there. What is the feeling of the having what you want? The feeling of the having of it. And those two things in combination create and manifest like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It took me a while to really even get my brain around the idea that if you want something, if you desire something, and all you think about is like, oh, I really want that. I really want a new car. I want a new car. I want a new car. I wish I could have a new car. I want one. You'll just be in the state of wanting forever.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you're manifesting. You're manifesting
the feeling of want.
The feeling of want.
Yeah.
Not the feeling of have.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So we're talking about right now something that is called the law of attraction. And we are, there's a lot of different ways that people exercise the law of attraction. One of the primary thought leaders of the law of attraction is Abraham Hicks. And for some of our listeners that are interested, check it out. Abraham Hicks, there are literally thousands and thousands of YouTube videos, little 15-minute clips or short clips of Abraham Hicks, the law of attraction. And it seems a little out there to some people. There's also a book and a movie that was out called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And that is actually based off the law of attraction, where much of her work came from Abraham Hicks.
Yeah,
However,
there's like 2 movies on Netflix about the law of attraction. One's like a romantic, sort of
yeah,
flick, and the other one is literally called The Secret.
yeah, right. And yes, and Rhonda calls The Secret is the law of attraction and how to manifest whatever it is you want by combining your thoughts and your feelings into a state of being. And so like, that's how I've spent a lot of my last few years as I've been developing myself. And actually that's where the self-awareness journey began. If I'm completely transparent, like that's where it began, as I started noticing these big gaps in myself that were preventing me from being able to fully manifest what it is that I really love and what I really, really deserve to have and enjoy having and enjoy being.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting to listen to some of these philosophers talk about this other way of thinking and your thinking patterns and your feelings. I really like Alan Watts, who is, again, kind of like I don't know what he is. He's a guy from the 60s. I think he bills himself as a spiritual entertainer or something.
Yeah.
But he's like a philosopher. He talks about different things. But the way he talks about people and you as an individual and the universe and how everything is connected and how the universe works through you, and how you're creating the reality around you all of the time, whether you're aware of it or not. I think it's really interesting. So
yeah,
the idea that are you being purposeful about creating the life around you and the experience that you want, or are you just like on autopilot, letting it all unfold
and thinking that the world is doing this to you?
Yes.
Like, I'm so unlucky. I keep having all of these experiences. The world is an awful place.
Yeah.
Like,
the world is happening to me. I'm not happening to the world, right?
Yeah,
It's a 180. It's like you said, it's the light and the dark. It's the same coin. It's just a different side of it.
Yeah. I actually, again, from Abraham Hicks, they talk very much about any subject is like a stick. Like, picture it like you're holding a stick. And on one end of the stick is the having of that subject. And on the other end of the stick is the lack of. And whenever we have topics, like even if it's our desires, like, oh my gosh, I just want, like we just finished a huge remodel project in our house. And that is something that I really focused on strongly in this whole, like manifestation stuff. I really practiced that. But for many years, I practiced it, but I practiced the lack of, oh, I wish someday this could happen. This would be so great to happen. And here I thought as being really positive and optimistic, but I was actually living in the not having it and wishing that I would. And all this time, I was fully resourced to have it. But my mind was telling me I wasn't ready or I didn't deserve to have it or whatever it could be. Yeah. And so that's like a real example of how something that was so desired was like a 5-year project. And actually, when we decided to do it, it was 11 weeks. So things can happen really, really, really fast if you're in alignment with what it is that you want. And that desire body is strongly pulling you towards the goal that it is that you want. And everything is in alignment.
Yeah.
I want to give one really big example of how this can work, because I think it's really funny.
All right.
So
patiently, excitedly waiting.
So I, as you know, some people are familiar with the name John Maxwell. John Maxwell is a huge thought leader in leadership development, and he has several companies. He's very well known. And in my mind, I really wanted to be on stage with John Maxwell. And I put it out there. I created vision boards with pictures of John Maxwell. And then I wanted it so badly. And suddenly somebody said, oh, hey, there's a coaching program with him. You should check it out. And that happened within a day of me like putting out there. I bought a book, Put Your Dreams to the Test, which is also a manifestation. Put Your Dreams to the Test is a John Maxwell book. I bought that book, and the next day somebody called me and said, hey, there's this whole program you should check out, which I never knew about. Fast forward 1 year. Not only was I on the team, I rose to the top of the team. There were 18,000 members, okay? And towards the end of that whole experience, I wanted to be on stage with John. I took a picture of John with his team that was on the internet, and I cut out one of the faces and I put my own right next to him. And I made a new photo, and I sent it to the leadership team of the coaching company. Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know, fast forward about 1.5 years, I was on stage with John, not once, not twice, multiple times. And I know John now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So and by the way, I'm not active in that team anymore because I've moved on to new things. So like this was at the time though, that was so important. And I just put it out there, and I had a burning desire no matter what. That's what I wanted. And I manifested that experience through doing ridiculous things, like putting my picture on the face of someone standing next to him. So I constantly had that image to remind me of how important it was to me.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It's a little creepy, but it works. Well, what's interesting, that story is particularly funny because it is, I think there's like a, probably like a Hollywood created, stereotype around,
Oh, totally.
pasting your face next to somebody.
Oh, but
it's a good example of how that visioning can work.
Yeah.
Vision boards are really cool. I mean, just the idea that you put in front of you every day.
Yeah.
Your future state, and you think about it like you have it.
Yeah. And you did the same thing with your writing. So depending on what kind of personality styles, there's a lot of different ways that you can begin to really manifest what it is that you desire. So I want to ask, like, what are you kind of thinking about for 2021? Do you have any examples? Do you have any specific things that you want to manifest for 2021?
Well, Melissa, you're going to have to wait till the book comes out.
Ah, darn it.
You don't get a sneak preview.
Oh, man. What a drag.
Well, beyond me not telling you what's going to be in my super awesome vision book. Actually, probably because I'm not going to tell you because I'm not actually done with it yet. So
the truth comes out. You haven't actually manifested it yet, even in the writing.
Right. What I'm going to manifest shortly is a done vision book.
Okay. Well, see, that's good. That's good. So I'll give you a couple of examples, right? Because I think that these are kind of, one is a little more subtle, but it's extremely meaningful, and it's a huge game changer. So one of the things that I want to manifest for me this year is what I actually manifested last year too, but I want to do it again this year and to be even more intentional. So last year, at the beginning of the year, I put out this goal. It was sort of a prayer, manifestation, a goal in which I said, anyone in any situation that I am meant to touch this year, please bring to me and let me do the best work that I can for that, whatever it is, if it's a person or project. What's very different about that is, rather than saying, I'm going to have this many new clients, I'm going to make this money, I felt that began to be too limiting, because what I might manifest is only a fraction of what I'm capable of manifesting. So I've actually changed the dynamic a little bit in terms of what I'm asking for. So I just continually sort of have that mantra. And I have had some of the most profoundly amazing experiences come to me this year in which I had no awareness were out there. And I know it's because I continue to stay really, really open. Like right now, I'm getting to talk with someone that lives I have a client that's in Paris. Like, how cool is that? You know, I have a client that is an MIT grad that makes beautiful, huge artwork. And how cool is that? Like, things that I would never, ever put myself in had I just created such a starchy goal. I just am manifesting situations in which I'll be able to do my best work for those people and those scenarios. So I'm really working on that for this year. But what I'm doing differently is I'm going on what I call a positive rampage. Wait for it.
So get out of my way.
We might lose a bunch of listeners after this episode.
That's okay.
I think we're just going to have to be okay with that. But like every single morning, I begin with this. I am so grateful to have what I have. I am so happy in the life that I have. I am so lucky that the people that I don't even know about that are coming to me are going to enrich my life, and I'm going to be able to help them. And that feels so good to be in these kinds of relationships. And I look forward to the financial abundance greater than I even knew. I love having this financial abundance now. I love the feeling of being able to support food shelves and stuff, which I've been doing a lot of. It's so much fun to be able to do that. I love the feeling of being able to do even more of that in 2021. So I will literally just put myself into that sort of state after I've put forth sort of something that I'm looking to manifest. So other people might find that an interesting thing to try doing. And if they have more specific questions, I would really encourage them to reach out on our Facebook page, The Self-Awareness Journey, or send us an email or something about that. But that really works, and it's been super fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, personal mantras and doing those things every morning is great. The one thing you also said that I love is that that you stay open to whatever comes, right? And I think that's a really important part of being in this state of attraction is that you're open to all sorts of ways that things might come to you.
Right.
And they might not come in the way you expected or thought.
Yeah.
Right. But they come, and you just have to be make sure you're open to it and not deflecting them.
Exactly right. Because they come in those manifestations. Once you really get your mind and your heart together, it's powerful how quickly things happen. And you're right. Like being open to the experience of what is. I love that. You're so right on that.
Yep. Well, this is great. I hope everyone is able to take something and think about this next coming year and see what they can attract.
Yeah. And I just think like this is above and beyond like goal setting, right? This is sort of like manifesting a new way to be. And it's so much fun to have even slight incremental increases in your awareness where you notice things are happening. I always say, even if you do 5% difference to something and you see that it's working, it's so amazing. We hope that you've enjoyed today's episode. Our mission is to help people become happier and more effective by gaining insight into their own thoughts and feelings. We'd love your support. First, share this podcast with anyone you think might enjoy it. Second, leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast site. This helps others discover the podcast so we can reach more people. And third, sign up for our newsletter at theselfawarenessjourney.com. This will help us communicate better with you and build our community. Thank you so much for joining us in the Self-Awareness Journey. We'll see you next week.